time for this assignment. So in this video, I will show you how to connect to any server and show you how to update a table and create databases and so on. But the first thing we have to do is that normally we would be using Eclipse for our environment, and we will continue to do so. But we will have to download a MySQL driver connector in order for you to connect to a SQL database. And I'm going to show you how we do that. First of all, you have to open your browser and go to mysql.com, mysql.com, whichever you like to prefer it as. I call it SQL. So MySQL is a very popular open source database, and even on their site they say world's most popular open source database, and it is used in industry as well as in private practice as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to connect to a MySQL database using Java. And you could connect to MySQL databases with many languages that are out there. But right now we're going to focus only on Java. And then in this tutorial, we're also only going to focus on from light parts of MySQL to connect to it, to insert, and to create a table and retrieve some information and so on. This is not a database course. So we're going to just look at the aspects that we use for Java to connect to a MySQL table, a database, sorry, and update tables that are already existing that I've created for you. So we won't go through the steps of actually creating the database. So once we're to the MySQL site, you're going to go to the downloads, and then you're going to go to the MySQL connectors right here. And here are your different connectors. And as you can see, there's several connectors depending on what language you're using. For instance, you probably would use the .NET for the C# connector, and the C++. If you're using C++, you use this connector C++, or Python, you would use Python. We're going to look at the connector J. That is the standardized database driver for Java platforms and development, which is what we've been using, Java, right? So click on connector J, and you would pick the version you would want. I prefer the zip archive, or maybe if you're on a Mac, you could use the tar archive. Either one is fine, and you hit and go ahead and download it. Now mine's already downloaded, but once you click on download, you will go ahead and get the MySQL connector Java zip file. In my downloads, you'll notice that you could see the MySQL connector Java zip file there. You will now take it out and maybe put it in somewhere better, like for instance my documents, which is where I put mine, and go ahead and unzip it to that directory, which I did right here, as you can see right there. Now when I open the folder up, I'll open it again, and you notice that there's a MySQL connector bin file that is a executable jar file. Now the location of this jar file is crucial to your Java project, because this is what you're going to be adding to your project in order for you to use this connector to connect to a MySQL database. Alright, so remember your directory path here, because this is really crucial. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and I'm going to pull up a Java project. Now this one's already connected, so I'm going to start from the beginning here just to show you what to do. Java project, my first database project, and finish. Right here, let's expand this out a little bit. You'll notice that you have a JRE system library, and when you open that up, you notice that there isn't, well, MySQL connector actually is in there because I've been using it on my machine at home. So actually I've added it to my system libraries where it loads it up when I create a new project. But I'm going to show it to you how to add it to it anyway, so that you have a better understanding of what's going on. So first of all, I will go ahead and right click on the project, build path, configure build path. And under libraries, go tab over, you could add external jars. And it actually took me to the directory where MySQL executable jar file is. Normally it probably would take you to maybe documents. So let's start from there. This is where I put the unzipped file there. I will go through all my directories again, find the executable jar file, click open, and now it's added to my project. So I will click OK. And you'll notice that there's a reference libraries that now under your system library. Now remember, I have it added to my system library right now, but the reference libraries will show up because I configured my path to actually look for Sql because I use it quite extensively for testing this semester. So under your reference libraries, you'll notice that there is the bin MySQL Java bin jar file that we've added. And now you're able to start your project. Now that you have all your libraries and jar files put in place, you can actually now use it to start your connect to a MySQL database. So I'm going to go ahead and close that out. I'm actually going to go ahead and delete this because I don't need two of them. I have another one created for you. And you can see my reference right down there. Here we go. So here is the code that I've written to connect to a contacts table in a database located on my business's server. Now, this is, like I said before, we've had a little trouble connecting to the Valencia server because of security. But this is where I host mine. And hightechcanvas.net is the IP address. So it's the, instead of doing the 192.68. whatever, etc., I actually have it linked to the address right here. So this is where you would put the IP address or the website address. This is the area you would actually have the name of the database, and the name of the database is the hightechca_contacts. This would be the username, which is hightechca_student, and this is the password called student. Now, in your assignment, you actually will be changing this to somebody's first name, for instance, my name, and up to 7 characters, contacts, and also changing this up to 7 characters of your name, and the password is still student. So this is how you will be connecting to your database to test it out. Alright, so let's put this back. Student, contacts, and because this is my test one, student, and password. So this actually first line right here, class.forename, MySQL JDBC driver, JDBC Java database. You're actually referring to the driver we've used in our reference libraries here, that jar file. The second line right here is a connector. We're actually making connection, an IO connection to the hightechcanvas.net and finding the database and connecting it with a username and password. This is a statement. Now remember, you're still supposed to be reading the chapter from database programming as well as this tutorial to help you through this. But you notice that in the chapter that they have a prepared statement, I called it statement, in which you could use the SQL code right here, select all from contacts, star from contacts. Contacts is the name of the table that is inside of the database called hightechca contacts. So this is the table, this is the database, and result set is when you, and I named it result, statement not execute the query. So we're getting a query of this statement here. You're going to select star from context, execute the query. And this is the result. So you get everything from context. That's what select star from context. And while result.next, you have standard print lines, but you'll notice that result.getString1, result.getInt2, and result.getString3. Now the reason being is that in the context table that I've created for you, the first string, or first column there, is name, then ID, then phone. And name is a string, a varchar, and ID is an integer, and phone is also a string. So the in order result.getString number 1, which will be the first place in the table, will be name. The second place in the table is the ID, and that's an int. And the third place in the table is a string that represents phone. And that's why it's represented this way. So this is the first place in the table, the second place in the table, and the third place in the table. All right. So we're going to go ahead and run this. And it connects to the server, and name, Scooby, ID 1, and there's the phone number. Now this is pulling directly off the database, off this ConnyTechCams.net, this database right here. And you'll notice this number 1 right here. I wanted to talk about it because the ID that I have set up in the table is auto-incremented. So that's very important that you understand that the ID is auto-incremented. Okay, it's not a value that I set. I only set the value of name, which I put Scooby down, and I only set the value of phone. That's the only thing I did. In the table, the auto increment made the idea, which is going to be important for your assignment to understand. Okay, so hopefully this was a small tutorial on how to set up your environment and how to retrieve information. You should actually watch this video and try out the database for your specific assignment, so that way you could see if there's any issues with that, and if you do, let me know to make sure that you're able to connect your database. Okay, all right, well, thank you, and I'll see you in the next database video.